back to Sticks and Strings. I'm Naomi.
I'm Beth.
I'm Eve.
And it is Flag Day today. Happy Flag Day.
I don't have a flag wave. They're all in storage.
When you see this, it'll be Father's Day. So
Yes.
we hope you guys are having a good Father's Day, remembering or celebrating your fathers.
Yes. And this is the episode in which none of us really have done anything.
I did a little.
Excuse me.
She did a lot. But so we're back to chat and get caught up. Grab your favorite beverage
And you can notice we're in a different location.
favorite craft. Yes, we are.
Yes, my son moved all the furniture in the house, so we're in a different location. And there's actually quite a bit more light here.
There's a lot of light in here, so it's great.
And where I'm stitching, there isn't any.
So, yeah.
Oh, usually you're the one with all the light when we're in there because the light is over,
Yeah.
Life has changes.
Yes.
So, welcome back, and
Yes.
welcome to our new subscribers. We've
Yes.
gained a few, and we're really excited about that. So
If you've been visiting and you're not a subscriber,
subscribe. We're fun. Come on, you love it. Put on your little bell so you know when we. But we
Yeah.
publish every Sunday morning at 5:00 Arizona time, which is not always the same because we don't change.
You might be an hour off, you might be two.
Depends on the time of year.
there's no daylight saving here.
Yeah, we don't do daylight savings, but we publish at 5:00 every Sunday morning, Arizona time.
When
So
you moved
can
out
find us.
here, when you first moved out here, I never knew whether I was calling too early, too late, whatever, because my parents lived in New Mexico, in Albuquerque, and I lived in Little Rock, and I was like, wait, is it
Part of the
am
year
I
we're the
1
same?
hour or 2 hours? Or
Part of the year we're the same as Mountain, and
Yeah,
part of the year
and I could
we're
never
the
remember which
same
was-
as Pacific.
Yeah.
So it's almost a bigger pain that we don't change because I'm like, am I 3 hours different from Hannah
Yeah.
or 2 hours different from Hannah? And I hate the 3 hour.
But I've heard it proposed that we get rid of daylight savings time altogether. So
But
if they were going to do that, would you rather it be that we're permanently on Mountain Time or permanently on Pacific Time?
I would say Mountain because that would be only 2 hours from the East Coast.
Mhm.
But if we were Pacific, because I don't like being 3 hours different from my daughter because like
That's a huge difference.
I wake up in the morning and her day's half gone already.
Mhm.
It's really
and
a
she's
lot.
at work, and
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would prefer Mountain. We're in line with Mountain.
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah.
But as we were saying, half the year we're
I'm saying
Pacific time.
geographically.
Yeah.
we're
When
in
I
line.
used to
and we're not the only
I was a
state
big-
that does this.
big X-Files fan, I used to go on the message boards, and there was a group of people who we called ourselves the hooligans because I was up late because of whatever, but most of the people that I interacted with were in California because it was in the middle of the night, and
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
all of the hooligans
It's
lived
all-
in California plus me.
What I was going to say was, but what's very interesting is that the Navajo Nation, it straddles New Mexico and Arizona.
In northern Arizona.
Northern Arizona and New Mexico, they do daylight savings. So even though I'm still in Arizona, when I traveled up there, my cell phone changed, and I'm like, what time? I don't know. And the fishing guide that I was meeting up at Lee's Ferry was like, we'll meet at 8. And I had to text him like, I don't know which 8. You mean 8 Navajo Nation time or 8 Arizona time? And he was like, Arizona time's fine. So I was like, I don't know what time it is.
I think when I was in graduate school in Indiana, I don't know if it was the whole state or part of the state didn't change also.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
Indiana
my friend Janet was from Fort Wayne, and she was like,
Well, what's amusing is when you live in Florida, like on the eastern coast of Florida, and you're doing a craft show on the Panhandle, and you drive through a time zone.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh wait,
I know.
I'm
it's
here
so
an hour
funny.
early.
Well, thank you for joining us on your Father's Day.
whatever time it is
yeah.
where you live.
And I will take a moment to acknowledge the stuff that's going on in the world. We never strive to be political on our channel, but we know there's a lot of things happening. So we just want to say stay safe, and that we're praying for those in conflict. And with that said, we will start. I'm going to go first. Because I'm still working on the same thing. But I did do.
A sweater is a big project.
It is a big project, and I'm like, now I measured it yesterday, and I'm 2 inches away from my target length. So here is this called, as I talked about last week, 3 triangles, 2
Your rectangles.
thank you, 3 rectangles, 2 triangles. This is the back, and you want to see it all laid out? So that's the back that
It's
Eve
not
has.
a proper
Let's
thing.
do it
If,
the other way. Let's do it the other way. Yeah, we gotta cover Beth.
it's not a proper video if we don't cover Beth.
Cover Beth up. Okay, take that side.
Yep.
Sorry. Sorry. Wait, don't let it fall off. Okay.
It won't fall off. Okay, so these 2 that Eve is holding and in front of Beth is the front panels, and this is the back panel. It needs to be 27 inches, although I haven't looked at the pattern in a while. I believe it's right, 27. And probably this would fit her.
She's
She's
smaller
little.
woman.
She's shorter than me.
Yeah.
But it would probably fit her, but I want it to be a little longer so she can wear it in the cold and it cover, a little bit more. So I'm going to do 2 inches more on this, and then I'll be decided to bind this off and start the sleeves. And I realize the sleeves aren't going to be so long because it's a drop shoulder, so the sleeves will be really short. So I think those will go fast. And then I will sew it up, and I kind of want to go to New Mexico and take it to her. I think because she keeps saying, "When are you coming? When are you coming?" When are you
Yeah, she
coming?"
wants so badly to visit here, but she can't really. She won't come in the summer, number one. But she hasn't wanted to even think about it because of us trying to sell the house.
Yeah.
She doesn't want to get in the way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it would be hard. But so anyway, that's what I'm doing. Still working on this. I had planned on my week between jobs to work on Hannah's room to get it, because it kind of, when I made that book cover a few weeks ago, or in May, if you look back at our episodes, I made a notebook, like a journal cover for my daughter. When I did that project, I had to take my sewing machine out, so I kind of just did this in the bedroom, and everything is everywhere. And I was planning on, during my days off, to take one day and really just take everything out, put everything back. And it didn't happen.
That's the way you
wound up,
planned
well, I
it,
know,
wasn't it?
because I just wound up actually really busy trying to get ready for the new job, and I was doing a lot of online training and stuff. So anyway, whatever. But I still really want to pursue that. And another reason I need to do that is that we're talking about flooring, doing new flooring in all 3 bedrooms.
Yeah,
And,
like about time.
Yeah, we really need it. So that entails a whole, because I don't know, if you've been with us a long time, you know that I have a dream box, which is this giant rolling closet thing, and
Yeah, it's huge.
it's huge.
And it's stuffed to the gills.
It's stuffed to the gills, but it folds up and rolls up and can be rolled out. Actually, to roll it out, you have to open it and roll it like a snake, so it fits through the doors and everything. But I have to take it has a top, like a top, what do you call it, a crown that has a light in it. I have to take that off, but that's not a big deal. But anyway, blah, 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 those are my problems. But that's why I'm really I'm really trying to focus on this, and I actually did do knitting this week. Trying to really bang this out and get it finished, so I can move on to other projects. I'm trying to restrict myself from distraction, so that I can start getting my WIPs taken care of. So anyway, that is me.
Well, I'm going second. Let me put this needle to the back. Right now, I'm working on my cross-stitch camp piece, Blooming Garden by carriage house
I
samplings.
thought you said blooming something, and I'm like, what? What you were doing?
I thought you said blooming garden.
Yeah.
Blue Moon Garden.
Oh, blue moon garden. Blue moon, not blooming. Sorry. Okay, sorry. Continue.
Anyway, I am almost to the bottom of the moon, and I've been trying to do these look like pea pods to me, and some of the other stuff as I go down to just kind of just, you know, make it look like I've actually done something. And so I am almost down to the bottom.
Sorry, you hear dogs snuffling.
Go lie down.
They're getting excited.
I'm almost to the bottom of the
Well, that's pretty far. Yeah.
Design. I'm right about here. No, here. And this it's opposite on my end, my side. This element is in a different place on mine by 1 stitch. It's 1 stitch lower because I made a mistake and I realized it was wrong, and I frogged, but then I frogged up and went, okay, that stitch isn't going to matter. Okay, so I just then went down. So I frogged up to the flower, I think, and I said, okay, it's not going to matter. So when I'm coming down and everything looks right, and I get over to this thing, and I'm like, why is that not right? What's going on? What's going on? Oh. So I just have to remember to put the pea pod over here in the right place, or it won't be square. But, yeah. Anyway, the moon is right. That's what counts, right? I put in the third color, so there's the green, and I put in a lot of the lighter purple. And the dogs are being so loud. I'm so sorry.
It's okay. I'm trying to get them to calm down. But.
And but I haven't put in any of the tan, because in each spot where you see the tan, there's very little of it. So I want to be able to just use one length and go along and then have them all done. So I'm going to do that at the end. What?
Sorry, look what happened.
Oh gosh.
That's a good thing you didn't pull on it.
I know, I was about to pull it, and I was like, oh,
So
that would have been very bad.
roll.
Sorry.
Stop. Anyway, I am almost done with this. I'm so excited. Now, the piece that I had planned to just concentrate on was Goodness and Mercy. And I have been still stitching on this somewhat. However, the past week, has it been half a week? I don't know, a few days. This is the room where I normally would stitch. And you can see it's very bright and light. But now the furniture that was in here is in a different room. And this table is in here. And where we are, I can't see. I've tried a couple of
Where
things.
you stitch now on the couch in the other room?
Yes. So the other thing I had planned to concentrate on, I have another one for later in the month, but was Goodness and Mercy, Sweet Wings Studio. And I have been working on it, but this past week with no light, I really haven't been able to work on it very much. I'm having to basically stitch everything 3 or 4 times because I got it in the wrong hole.
And you said Beth lent you a light?
She lent me a light, but it's
It's a little clip light.
it's a
thing
clip
that-
light, and the only thing I can clip it to is the lamp. So it's better, but I'm still having to lean at an awkward angle, and you can only do that.
Do you have a neck light?
I do. It's in storage.
You want to borrow mine? I don't use it much.
Yes, please.
Okay, it's at my house.
You know what? I have one of those, that little square, like flippy thing.
Yeah.
I have
You
that.
told
Like,
me, and you said you didn't know where it was.
no, I do now. No, I was thinking of something else. I was thinking of something
I
else. I
would
wasn't
prefer
thinking
the
of.
net light.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you can
Because
try
I know
both.
that's not in my way. I've used the.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's it. It just sits around and it's bendy.
I got the one from Dad. Yeah.
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 Oh no, this is mine that I've had.
I know.
Oh.
I got Dad's.
Oh, I
That's
see.
the one that's in
Yeah.
storage.
That's the one that's in storage.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can lend you that. You can
Okay.
come get it.
I don't know if we need this conversation.
I-
Anyway, so hopefully I will find a light solution relatively quickly, and I can get some more work done on this. I plan on working on this up until the 15th, which will be Sunday. Is it
Monday.
Sunday.
Sunday, yeah.
Tomorrow.
Yeah, Sunday.
But I may work on it a little bit longer because I am working on I have been working mostly on the cross stitch camp piece. I also have a new start, which I need to do. So we'll see. Then the other cross stitch piece that I did was my temperature chart. Under the C temperature chart, I designed this for it's Etsy shop, Three Sisters Creative. And it has been hot with a capital H. It's not July yet, but let's just put it this way. It was 108 all week, like all week. So I have a new hot thread, but it's, of course, it's like the difference between pink and bashful.
Blush and mash.
When you look at it as a hank, it looks like a very different color. But like this, it barely you can tell the difference. But I can. Anyway, it's hot. It's very hot. And I keep getting notices on my phone. Temperatures this evening will be unseasonably warm. Okay, all you have to do is look outside, you know it's hot because the air shimmers, you know. Okay, so I started my sock. And this green part is like a little bit longer than on the first one, but it doesn't really matter.
It'll be inside your shoe.
It'll be inside my shoe, so that doesn't
We'll
really
see.
matter. And I'm working on this, you know, a row or two, and then I pick up my hamburger because I'm having fun working on this hamburger, and that's the whole point, right?
Yeah.
So I finished a hamburger patty.
Let me see that. Oh my gosh.
I figure
That is so cool.
I figure if there were 2 lettuces, it would be a wrap, right? One of those.
That's all I can eat. Yeah.
Impossible. I mean, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm working on the bun, the bottom bun right now for the 3rd time.
Oh no.
So I had to take it back to the very first row. The first time I worked on it, I forgot I needed 2 threads because you're crocheting with 2 threads instead of just 1. So the first time I did it, I got pretty far. I was like, oh man. So I took it all out, started again with 2. And then I was almost done with the bottom part of the bottom bun, because this color is for the bottom, and you know how in a bun the inside is white. So I have to switch colors to make the inside, right? I was 1 row away from doing that, and I went, okay, so this whole thing, you stitch a row, and then you chain 1 and turn it and go on the other side. Okay, so you're flipping it each time. This I'm supposed to stitch in rows. Just keep going around and around like a spiral, right? Did I do that? no, I stitched it like these. I crocheted it like these. And then I went, something is very wrong here. I'm not paying attention to this pattern. And I just assumed it was the same. And you know what they say about assuming anything. And so here I am starting it yet again. However,
She was trying to explain this to me, and I said, "You realize that means absolutely nothing to me." Well, she said, "Well, ordinarily you have to do this, and but this time you have to do that." And I'm like, "I don't even know what you're talking about."
You should have just called me. I could have understood you.
Yeah.
So, fortunately, yes, I worked on that, but it didn't take forever. It's not like, you know, if I had had to frog back up to the, you know, the beginning part of the moon, I would be like, I need to just start again. You know, but it's not like that. You just, you know, go like this and then you just do it again. And honestly, even though I started it twice, that's been in 1 week. It didn't take me, you know,
Right.
tons of time. So it has you make the bottom bun, then the top bun, then the tomato. And I was like, why aren't you making the tomato before you make the buns? To me, it would made, I almost said, I'm just going to make the tomato. And then I started reading and I went, oh.
Why does it do it?
It uses like 5 colors.
Oh.
So,
She'd be lucky it's not a double-decker bun, because then you'd have to make another
And
hamburger, another
yeah,
bun,
the good thing it's not a Big Mac.
well, I suppose I could.
and another cheese.
But, you know, theoretically, you're supposed to be able to stack this somewhere, you know, for coasters. Can you imagine us using hamburger coasters instead?
Mm.
And it's not like, okay, even the hamburger that's like double, they work fine. You know, I just wet the hamburger.
Well, that's what it's for.
That's what they're for. It would absorb all the moisture. That's what's really nice.
Yeah.
And I think that's why you're doing them with 2 threads, to make them extra absorbent. So it's not thread.
Well, that's fun.
Yarns, but yeah. Anyway, that's all. That's all I have. That's all I've been doing.
I have been working on both of my projects, both my cross-stitch camp June project, because actually it's going to be very involved, because I'm almost done more or less with the June, with half of the June project, but you know. But then also my Black Cat season is one of my WIP-GO charts for this month, and I worked on it a little bit last week, and so that's what I'm working on today. I think I did maybe one other day this past week. But anyway, this is, I'm doing Silver Creek Samplers Celestial Sisters Biscornu as a sun side and a moon side for my June cross-stitch camp project. To the challenges to stitch something that shows whether you're a daytime or nighttime stitcher. So this is the sun side, and I did all of the clouds and all of the eyes and all of the faces in these little circles. And so really everything is almost done except for these 2 suns, little suns. But it's just one color now, the lighter yellow color. So
I like how the big nose is a button.
yeah.
So is there a backstitch line all the way around?
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, it doesn't show very well on there, but that's what this is here. I started on because I just got bored. And I do kind of have to like move it. It's on a it's on a tiny fabric, so it's hard to get it in that corner and get all that stitching in there. But I did go ahead and start with a back stitch line just because I got tired of doing that one color. But and I did notice that like I made a boo-boo on this little sun thing with the smile, because there's like, it's either, I guess when you're on the outside of the smile, it's like one stitch and then two stitches. You know, one stitch on the outside and then two stitches to make the little smile. And somehow in this one I did it backwards. I did two stitches and one stitch. And so when I was putting in the little yellow background, I'm like, why is it? Wait, this is supposed to be, because, you know, look at the pattern just casually, because I know because at this point it's all just fill in, right? Because I did all the darker gold colors around there, and so I'm just filling in this yellow color. And the only place I really have to look is on the edges where it goes, you know, out or whatever. But so when I was working around the smile, I'm like, it's supposed to, you know, I was just glancing at the pattern to make sure what row I was in and whether I wanted to go out and back or one stitch at a time, whatever. So I realized, wait, this is supposed to be like 3 stitches and then 3 stitches. But instead I'm going 2 and then 3, and I'm like, wait, what row am I at? Where am I? And it was because I had done that one edge of the smile backwards.
Oh,
but that's the only mistake I made so far. So.
How come the little sons look so sleepy?
Because their eyes are small.
They look sleepy.
Yeah, they do.
It's so funny.
But so this is the one side. So I'm when I finish these 2 little suns, and then do the back stitching all around, then the sun side will be done. And the moon side looks like it's easier because you have the big moon in the middle, and then the little moons on the outside are like little crescent moons like this one.
But you got all those stars.
But then there's like stars and swirls and all that. So.
It's the same. It'll just be a pain.
But,
just accept the pain.
Huh?
Just accept the pain.
But yeah, so yeah. Anyway, so like I said, the sun side is almost finished. I just had those 2 smaller suns and then the backstitch line all the way around, and that'll be finished. Well, the one side will be done. But so I did work more on my Black Cat Season, the final panel of the Black Cat Season bell pull, and so I got the words in, the Black Cat Season words, and all of the outline of the edge of the design. So all that's left is there's some yellow like shooting star kind of things here, and a backstitch line. And looking at the pattern, the backstitch line looks like it's in the middle of the square, and you know, so this is like 2 over 2. I'm stitching here, so the backstitch line theoretically, you know, could go down the middle, you know, because you're down the middle of the square, because it's like 9, you know. Anyway, so I think that's what I'm going to do, but it is 2 threads, you know, because there's like a little square like this little shape here, and then a line, and then a shape, and then a line like that. So I just have to like think about how I'm going to do that to make it work. And that same color does the big moon up here, and there's a few little of those little 4 stitch diamond shaped kind of things, sparkles around that big moon. But right now I'm working on the black cat, and the cat also has white backstitch whiskers and these closed eyes, and then a pinky nose in the middle. But other than that, I'm really almost done with his cat. Or his whole body. I just have to do his head and his neck, I guess, basically. And but so that's coming along nicely. So my goal on this was 7 days, and I think I've done 3. Maybe today makes 4, maybe something like that. So I feel like I could finish it, and then I'm going to do one of the free little border patterns that she did. I'm going to put at the bottom, and it'll be done if I could just work on it and get that finished. And then tomorrow, like I said before, I'm going to work on this To My Dear Father for Father's Day, and we'll work on it some more. And hopefully get a little more done on it, because I just have the barest of starts on it. So hopefully I'll get some good progress on that. And I think this is Classic Colorworks, General Arts, and Weeks colors to go with this. And I have them somewhere. I have to hold all somewhere. But that's me.
All right. So now it's feigned question of the week time. Last week we asked, what are your fiber preferences, whether it's yarn, fabric, threads, and we got a lot of answers. We have many votes for Ada and DMC. I think this is a new viewer, Mary Passmore, says that she's thinking about doing fancy floss. And then and she uses wool and nylon blend for socks, and then for her charity knitting she usually uses acrylic, which makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And then Noreen says, oh wow, she says she's 81 and using up all sorts of fiber and fabrics.
Oh.
Each piece brings a challenge to find a fun design to up and stitch on it, and that DMC is her go-to.
I'm proud of you.
Wow.
At 81 to watch YouTube.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us,
Yeah.
Maureen. All right, and
The
then
nice thing about just using Ada and DMC is that it's
available.
widely available everywhere. You know.
And
Yeah. Oh, like I was at Walmart the other day. I have a little story to tell about that, but also, you know, in there they have a very limited, you know, cross stitch area among all their craft stuff, but you know they've got Ada and they've got a few colors
so
of
you
DMC.
You can do your things.
Yeah.
Teresa says that she's an Ada girl and stitches on 14 count and with DMC floss. Mary O's says that she likes 32 count Lugana, but she'll use 18 or 20 count Ada if she needs anything, difference. She doesn't like linen, and she's DMC with some occasional fancy floss, and her favorite over dye is Weeks Dye Works. And then Christy says DMC is go-to floss, and she doesn't have a local store, so DMC is what's available to her, like a specialty shop. And Ada or linen, but she likes 40 count with one thread. She just started crocheting. She's only used Red Heart and Big Twist. So good for you for crocheting. Good job. So this week I saw one of my favorite knitting channels is Nimble Needles. It's a gentleman from, I think he's from Germany, and I just love him, Norman. And he did a thing called the what did he say? The ugly truths of knitting, or something like that, like the bad side of knitting. And it's a little bit tongue in cheek, but he talks about like how it's a knitting channel. So, but you can apply this to any craft that you do. That you enjoy it and it brings you peace and joy, but there's always like those sides that are discouraging, irritating, guilt-inducing, frustrating.
Well, like
and
market comes out and you're thinking, I gotta get all the market exclusive. They're not exclusive, like never ever on again. They just mean it take a minute.
Right,
for it to
but you
come
feel
out.
that temptation of like, or that urgency.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, or like he talked about like spending $32 on a skein of yarn, or like or buying one skein. He was like sitting there like a fool refreshing the browser because this dyer only does a small amount, and and it's like this super fancy wool with this super fancy. He said this whole thing of like super fancy traceable wool and only uses natural dyes, and it's like this whole exclusive yarn. So there he is, like a slave to that idea, like I have to have that, And he goes, and here I am making plain vanilla socks with it. So it's just really funny. So what is the thing about your craft? What's the dark side? And I guess for me, I will say the dark side of my knitting, I love knitting and I love all my crafts, quilting, knitting, sewing, crochet, all that stuff. My dark side and the thing that causes me frustration is I guess you could say my penchant for starting way too many projects. I hear people like in like these podcasts are like, I'm a monogamous knitter. I do one project at a time and then I finish it and I go to the next project and I really have fun planning my next project. And I do the fun planning my next project part, but I don't do the finish the stuff I already started part. And then I wind up feeling guilty and like burdened and like every once in a while I'm like, I'm free of that. I'm just going to do what makes me happy. But then, you know, something will happen or I'll think about something I haven't finished, or especially if it's like something for somebody else, I'm like, and it's not that I don't want to do it. It's just that I've gotten myself so distracted and down the road of like, squirrel, that I'm like, wait, I have to go back and finish these things. So that's the dark side of my craft.
and like, I'm really, really, really enjoying crochet right now. And a lot of that maybe has to do with my struggling more with eyesight. Or it just could be that I'm just having fun. I don't know. Probably something about both. But that doesn't mean that I have forgotten my love of what I'm doing with cross stitch. And so I see a new cross stitch pattern come out and I'm like, and then I go, no, I have enough projects, and you know, I go back and look at it. And I go back and look at it again, and I have to walk away, and I have to say no.
Yeah.
And it's really hard.
Yeah.
And I saw a crochet pattern. There's a whole bunch of bugs. There's like a bee and I don't know, there's like 6 of them. They have a picture of them sitting on a wall, right? They're adorable. Their little legs dangling down, right? They're adorable. But what would I do with those? Nothing. As it is, the little things that I've crocheted, the amigurumi things that I've done, like, I don't have any kids. You know, I don't make them big because I don't have any kids.
Yeah.
And I don't want any right now. Yes, one day I hope I'm not, you know, going, oh no, I need to, no. I hope one day Robert has children and I will have grandchildren. I am not anxious for that day because I want him to have his life completely settled. But I don't have any kids to be giving these things to or to be making them for, you know, and it's hard. I still want it.
Yeah.
I still think about it.
Yeah.
This reindeer pattern. I'm like, what would I do with a reindeer? And it's huge. You know, what would I do with that? Sit it on my bed? Hank would come and take a bite out of it.
Hank the dog.
Yeah. So he likes soft things like slippers and stuff. It doesn't seem to chew on them, just carry them around the house.
We want to know, what's your dark side? What's the thing about your craft that is frustrating to you or discouraging? And just know that even though you might feel discouraged, you're not alone. You're not alone. And it still can be fun. And like I talk about all this guilt I have, but I know that it's okay. And most of that guilt is self-induced, right? So, but we want to know, what's the dark side of your craft for you that you have to kind of deal with, and we all have it. We all acknowledge it. So let us know. And I have a couple of stories. Well, one stupid thing I did. I was at the grocery store and I was like, you know what? I don't know why. I just want I wanted some lotion for work because I left my favorite lotion at my old office. I forgot it. And my favorite office lotion, I don't know why, is this Suave. It's the blue Suave. It has just a really nice smell to it. And it's just simple and it's not greasy and just like right into your hands. You know, when you go to the bathroom, those office bathrooms with the soap.
The soap that peels your
your
skin
tears
off.
you up. Yeah, so I would keep a bottle. It's just like a regular size bottle. So I was like, I need one for my new office. So as I'm going toward the lotions, I see on the end cap, fished in, I see on the end cap a Dove display. And they have these little tubs. And I'm like, what's this? And it's scrub. And it's like an all-natural scrub. It doesn't have like plastic beads. It's got like seeds and like, so the one I got was pomegranate and I don't know what, green tea or something. I don't know, something like that. It was a pomegranate one. And of course, sorry, I open things and smell them because I am not buying something if I cannot smell it. So I opened it. It smelled good. I was like, okay, I'm going to get that. So it's like a scrubby. And then right near there were these big fat bottles like this. I should have known. Or I could have like read words with my eyes.
What was the shampoo?
Don't spoil it. I thought it was lotion. I thought it was a big thing of lotion. And it was Dove brand, which I don't buy. But it was like all different flavors, right? And it had like, this one was cucumber and green tea or something like that. So of course I smelled it. But not even smelling it did I clue into what was going on. And it had a pump, right? Mm-hmm. So I was like, well, I'm not going to take this giant thing to work, but this would be a nice lotion for I have one on my dresser right by my bed. Mm-hmm. Wait, it gets funnier, okay? So because also one day I was at CVS a long time ago and I wanted lotion for the side of my bed and they didn't have my favorite Suave. So I thought, oh, Jergens, remember like Mom, right? Mm-hmm. So I got a yellow Jergens and I put it by my bed and I don't like it. I don't like the way it smells. I don't know, it just like, I don't like it. And it's completely almost full, but I don't like it. So I was gonna replace it and put that in the bathroom for someday when we have a lotion shortage and we need extra lotion, I will have an extra bottle. So I'm like, I'm giving myself permission to put that lotion in I'm not throwing it away. I'm keeping it for lotion emergencies. So I buy this big apocalypse. I buy this big Dove, okay, and I put it in there. And then I go around the corner because I don't want, obviously I need something for work and I really like that Suave. So I go into the lotion aisle and I find the little Suave and I'm like, not little, but it's like regular size. And I'm like, okay, all set. I'm all excited. So I go home and I put the little scrub in the shower and I put the Suave by my work stuff so I can take to work. And then I put the Dove by my bed. And I don't know how long later, maybe later that day, maybe the next day, something. I go and I thought, I'm gonna try my new lotion. So I go and I start doing this and I'm like, this is not lotion. My hands are like white. And I'm like, and I read the bottle and it's body wash. Then I don't use body wash. But guess what? Now I do. But it doesn't make a good lotion. So
that would be really bad for me because I really don't use body wash.
So I guess a lesson. Reading is your friend.
It's like, you got that from my mother.
I know, but I swear there was bottles of lotion on that thing, but maybe there weren't. Maybe they were just all body washes and I didn't.
Well,
My mother used to we used to tease her about it because she was a first grade teacher. And we said you need to learn to read past the first grade, because she would go grocery shopping or whatever, and she would read some item that she wanted, but when she went to grab it, she would grab the one next to it, and it was a different flavor or a different thing, and yeah. And then she'd get home and she'd go, "What is this?"
I know, I do that as well.
so this week, oh shoot, this is supposed to be two of the same thing. Not loop started. This week, Beth needed to go to Walmart. I needed to go to work, and I said, I don't know why I thought this was a good idea. I said, "Hey Beth, why don't I just drop you at Walmart, and I'll go to work, and on the way home from work, I'll pick you up, because it is literally on the way." Poor Beth, she was there almost 3 hours.
Hey, I could spend 3 hours at Walmart. But as a matter of fact, that ties into one of my stories. Was
Well, that's what I was setting up.
I had
Tee it off, dude.
yeah, I did my I had a good thing and a bad thing happen at Walmart. So my good deed for the day was I was tooling around, looking at all the stuff, and I was in the craft aisle because why not?
Because she had 3 hours.
Yeah. And so I was like, just, should I buy this? No, I don't need to buy that. No, should I buy this? No, I don't need to buy that. And anyway, so I had just passed they have a little tiny, cross stitch section. And I just glanced at it to see if there was anything there that I needed. Which I didn't, of course. And so I had gone down the aisle just a little bit, and I was looking at whatever else they had there, and I had noticed this young man. I think originally he was kind of in front of me, and then after I went by, he was behind me.
That makes
And
sense.
he was, huh?
That makes a lot of sense.
Well, no, I mean he was still there.
I see.
But he was bent over looking at in the cross stitch section, and in the back of my mind I thought he's like 20 something, young man, and I'm like, is he really cross stitching? So I kind of
lightweight.
yeah, well, except because here on FlossTube I've seen a few young people, young men, and so I was kind of like, oh, that's very interesting. I wonder if if he's in the cross stitch. And so I was looking, and he was just staring at the needles, and then finally so he was kind of looking around, and I was like, do you need help? And he goes, yeah. I said, did you need needles or something? And he said, I said, what kind of needles do you need? And he said, like, for a sewing machine. And I'm like, okay, you don't want those. and just, next to the cross stitch section was the sewing stuff, and so I helped him, pick some needles, and of course he didn't know what kind of sewing machine they were for. I don't know if he was buying them for his mother or his girlfriend or whatever, but And so I said, well, see, these have a wider things. You can stick it in the machine, and but
the blind leading the blind.
Yeah, well, yeah,
Have you ever
I barely
put a
knew, but I mean, I know the difference between a sewing machine needle and a cross stitch needle.
Right.
So he's like, yeah, I totally would have bought the cross stitch ones. And I'm like, yeah, very good. Saved you from coming home with the wrong thing, like the magic beans and the beanstalk. But
Beth and I bought a lot of magic beans
yes.
at grocery shopping.
Grocery shopping, well, everything but grocery. But then also the bad thing that happened when I was at Walmart was I was in the cleaning product aisle, and I was looking just idly at the Swiffers, and I was looking at the like Swiffer mop things, and so there were some brand new ones, in a box up there, but they were like on the upper level of this display thing. And so I thought, well, I'll just grab that and bring it down, because it was, there was a little hooky thing, and it was on. And so I went to grab it, and it was, I guess, heavier than I thought, and it kind of tipped, and it the box that it was in hooked on one of the other hooked down things, and I was like, trying to, and as I wrestled it down from there, it fell and it like cut my hand like a paper cut, you know,
Oh,
but with a
man.
cardboard box.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know, like oozing blood, and this thing is falling on my head. I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna put it over here and just walk away because I don't care. But yeah,
Oh my
so my
I would have had to
adventures
go
are-
ask for medical assistance. I cut my hand on a piece of construction paper, and it's thicker construction paper and stiffer than like the kind you think of from elementary school. Beautiful construction paper, gorgeous colors, but it's a little on the thicker side. And I was looking through to get the color that the kid wanted, and gave myself a paper cut. And at first, I just wasn't too worried about it. I just, you know, put some pressure to get it to stop. And we were about to finish up, and it wouldn't stop bleeding. It was bleeding all over the place. I wrapped it up with a Kleenex that was just right there and put tape around it. I had Band-Aids, but they were not handy. And I'm like, yeah, because they were in a little container down at the bottom of my bag. I moved them into the big container because it bled through that,
Oh,
right?
wow.
It just kept bleeding. And so I would have had to ask for medical assistance. I would have been bleeding. I bled over the construction paper. It was a mess. And I was like, yeah,
Oh no.
if a piece of cardboard were to cut my hand,
Yeah.
I'd be going, can you
Oh
help
my
me?
gosh, that's like my friend. I don't know if I told this story, but I have my old colleague at my last job. They were doing a big event at this the Steinway piano place, and she was working it, and they had food and stuff, and I don't know. She was cleaning up towards, I guess, I don't think it was over yet, but they were cleaning up, I guess, a little bit of the food or something. And she was in like a little kitchen or something, washing a knife. And I've been into this silly, but she was like doing this to wash it, and she sliced her finger like really bad. And my other colleague came in, and there was blood everywhere, and she's holding it, and she's like,
That's kind of how I cut
yeah,
mine.
didn't want to like let anyone at the party know. And so my other colleague was like, I'll clean up, just go home, like, you know. So she went, and she was so silly, she didn't go to urgent care that night, and I guess it finally stopped bleeding at some point, but the next day it was like all like not connecting, so she had to go get stitches.
Well, and if you're washing something, that means it's dirty.
right,
And,
you
you
know,
know,
like, you're crazy girl.
because that's how I got infected in this. But I knew a woman who, she was trying to separate frozen meat with a sharp knife. And she dropped the knife, and it went down and went in between her toes on her foot and cut her foot. Yeah, because you know, she was like, and it went down.
Oh gosh, every single day, I mean not every single day, but every time I'm stitching with a needle like that, I think about our cousin's boss who stepped on a sewing needle because, you know, they don't have a head on them.
Which cousin?
Judy,
Oh.
her boss, ages ago, he stepped on a sewing needle and it went all the way into his foot. Couldn't get it out because it didn't have a head. You know, it just went in. So we had to have all kinds of surgery and all kinds of. And so I like literally think about that. That lives rent free in my head every time I use a needle.
That's kind of what I did with the wire in
Yeah.
my ankle.
Yeah.
They thought I was going to need surgery.
There was
But it disappeared.
yeah.
It went all the way up into his foot.
The wire
Yeah.
was this long, and only this much was sticking out.
There was
If it hadn't hit the bone,
Yeah.
it would have gone all the way in.
There was a girl that I used to work with years ago at Family Life in Little Rock, and she and her husband were cleaning up after dinner one night, and she had used a big, butcher knife, that and so she was washing dishes, and her husband was drying dishes. And I guess he was drying with a paper towel, not with a dry dishcloth, or whatever, right? But he was drying stuff with this paper towel as she handed him, the stuff. And so she had washed this knife and handed it to him, and he took the paper towel and he went like this, and just cut his hand up, like. Ugh. But also when I lived in Little Rock, our conductor, this is the first few years I was there, because it was the Robert Henderson, the guy who was there when I got there. But he was making dinner before a concert.
Wrong.
In the afternoon.
Never use knives before a concert.
And he was there chopping dinner, and he like chopped the tip of his finger off or something. He had his hand all bandaged.
So when
and
we
painkillers.
I think we were living in Belgium. My ex-husband and I might have been here in the U.S., but we had a knife set that the knives looked like little razor blades. They weren't serrated at all. They were very sharp, and because they were smooth and sharp, it was in Belgium. He used to he liked to play with little Legos, little tiny ones, and he couldn't get them apart with his fingers because he didn't have fingernails, right?
And that was before the tool.
Right. And so he would use that knife to pop them open, and then he would sit it on the armrest of the chair he was sitting in. And this one day he went to grab it, and he thought the handle was one direction and it was the other, and he grabbed it by the blade, and it went through all three of these fingers all the way down to the bone on the longest one. And there we go to emergency. No, maybe it was here in the U.S. because I had to drive him, and I couldn't drive the motorcycle, and that's all we had in Belgium. And so he had these stitches in the ends of his fingers. Creepiest looking stuff. I'm like, don't show me your hand, and he'd go like this.
Gross. Ew.
Don't use knives to open Legos.
Well, they make that nice tool now.
Yes, because people were using them.
Probably, yeah.
Suing Lego because they used a knife instead of,
I think when I was a kid, I think I stepped on a nail. I don't know, somehow it was on the rug at home.
Was it a carpet tack?
No, I don't know what it was. Maybe an 8B, but I don't think so. Because it
Those
wasn't on the
nasty.
carpet, it was on that little, one of those throw rugs that we had, and I think it was a nail, but in my
Did you have to
instep.
did you have to get a tetanus shot?
I don't remember now. It was like I was very young.
I don't remember that at all. You're making it up.
So,
I remember it.
My
lived experience.
My first job was at a department store, and we had, the
Made in Heifer.
made in we had the security tags that have the magnetic part and the little tack. And all of my colleagues would be like, always look at the floor, always look at the floor. Those tacks will go right through your shoes. They'll go through your shoes, they'll go through your shoes. Like, always examine, like, be careful. Especially around the register area. Mm-hmm. Because that's where we take them off.
Right.
You put them through this little thing and you pop off. And I was working, of course, we had to wear pumps. I don't know if we could do flats, but we had to wear dress shoes. We had to wear skirts. We had to wear hose. That was back in the day. Anyway, so one of the things I would do to rest my feet is I would take one foot out of my shoe and like put it flat on the ground on the cool tile there, just to rest my foot. And then I'd do the other one. And it's like the weirdest thing, because I looked at the floor because I was told over and over again to watch out for the tacks. And because they were like, it was like the size
round
of
thing with
it was like a little round head on it, plastic, white, like creamy, that cheap plastic color. Kind of shaped like a cone.
Yeah.
And on the other side was a needle, a tack, but it had ridges like that, like a. Am I trying to think?
Like a screw, but with a
No,
straight.
but like an earring. You know how how earrings have a little
Very
notch
sharp.
in them.
Yeah.
How earrings have a little notch where the thing sit like that.
Uh-huh.
And but I don't know how long they are. Like maybe like this long. Anyway, I looked at the floor. I remember looking at the floor and didn't see one. So I took my foot off and I put my foot down and I put it right on one, right in the ball of my foot. And I was like, ouch. And I, looked at the bottom of my foot and I went to grab it. I couldn't pull it out. So I finally was able to pull it out. Then I had to do an incident report. And then I had to go to one of those, what do you call it, workman's comp.
Those doctors.
Place, doctor, and had to get a tetanus shot. And I'm like,
When I
those suckers hurt.
when I cut my hand washing the knife at work, and they told me to drive myself. So I drove myself to the workman's comp doctor, and I'm sitting there waiting. Thank God I stopped bleeding. I'm sitting there waiting. And I had cut it deeply. I cut my finger to the bone there. And I'm waiting to see the doctor, waiting. And there was a man there, construction worker, who got his hand caught between a wall and a dumpster. And he had popped the fingers in his hand.
Ew.
And he's holding his hand. He had not stopped bleeding. They're holding his hand up like this, and his coworkers are there supporting him. Take him first. I'm like, I don't know why I was there so long, but I was like, oh my
They didn't
God.
send him to
poor
the
man.
ER?
They didn't take him to the ER. They took him to the workman's comp doctor.
Oh, jeez.
And the workman's comp doctor I had, she acted like she had never used a needle and thread ever before.
Oh, no.
And she used a needle that was far too big for fingers. Yeah. And apparently she didn't disinfect it well enough, because I got an infection almost right away.
Oh, gross.
Yeah. I have a lot of things to say about workman's comp doctors, and unfortunately, I am very good at hurting myself.
Yes.
So I have a lot of stories about workman's comp doctors, and none of them are like the specialist that they sent me to for my back, who had me bend over once. He goes, well, you're old. It'll take a while for it to stop hurting. It was like 10 years ago. It still hurts.
I remember
Thank you for that assessment.
remember my brother had, he used to work at, I don't know if it was when he worked at AutoZone or one of those, places. Because it was quite some time ago, because
I think it was
we had
Firestone.
it might have been Firestone, yeah. But he was working there, and something, I don't remember what, something hit him in the head, something he was working with. Yeah, and so, of course, he had to go to a workman's comp, because, kind of like hurt his neck, I think, too, with all of the reaction from it and everything else. And so, he had gone to workman's comp, and just like his neck wouldn't stop hurting, and he went to our family doctor at the time, who's an osteopath, which means they, crack your bones like a chiropractor.
Yeah.
And Dr. Davis just popped his neck and he was fine.
What happened was, he was working on a tire, and he said out of the corner of his eye he saw something falling, and he went like this, or if he hadn't put his hand up, it would have hit him harder, and he would have needed more than stitches.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Yeah.
Hey.
I used to say it all the time, like when I was at when I was in the hospital, because I had to, because I was considered a fall risk, after my brain surgery,
yeah.
with the stroke and all this kind of stuff. And so I always had to
wait.
ring for the nurse, so I could get up out of bed and go to the bathroom or whatever. And there were times when I would ring, especially when I was in rehab,
Yeah.
because my rehab roommate was a horrible
Yeah,
girl.
Yeah.
And so she would always she would always ring for the nurse because she wanted like different food than the cafeteria was serving or whatever. And so and she didn't want to eat anything at the time that they would bring us dinner. And so 3 hours later she would ring for the nurse. And she wanted, something else, blah, 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 whatever.
She was in a
She was
hotel.
just always ringing for the nurse for this and that and the other. And she wanted to talk to a doctor and she blah, 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 blah. And so they had gotten to the point where
If it came from your room, they wouldn't answer.
Yeah, they would ignore her. And so there were a couple times when I would ring and I guess they thought that it was her. And they didn't come right away, and I would always think of that. It's a good thing I'm not dying,
Yeah.
because And matter of fact, I had to get a refill from my doctor, and they have a little thing where you can send a text in if you're out of refills. You can send a text in, and they send the text to the medical assistant, and then that person, I guess, tells the doctor, and the doctor signs off for your prescription to renew your prescription refill. So I had, because they don't respond to faxes in my doctor's office. And so I had gotten I used to, call and you end up talking to somebody that answers for all of the doctors in this network, whatever. But I used to, but they said, but you could text us if you want to avoid wait time, blah, blah, blah. So I've done that the last couple of times. So I text the guy, and the guy texts the assistant, and that assistant is supposed to talk to the doctor. But the other day, sometime last couple weeks ago, I had texted, I need a refill for this, and I was on Monday or Tuesday that I texted Tuesday, and so by Thursday, they hadn't filled it, and so I texted again because I thought, tomorrow's Friday, and then there was the Memorial Day weekend, and so I didn't want to get caught in that weekend, and so I texted on Thursday, hey, I haven't heard back yet about this medicine, and so the guy said, yeah, okay, I'll send it again, and so I waited and waited, and I didn't hear from them, and so the following Tuesday, I texted again. I said, hey, I texted a week ago and haven't got anything. And so they said, I'll send it with high priority or whatever. And still didn't get it. And we had a showing, I don't know, a couple days, the next day or something. And so we were out, trying to kill time while people were looking at the house.
I had gone to the grocery store and I said, let's just go.
But anyway, so I stopped by the doctor's office and I said, I've sent, 3 requests or whatever for this medicine, and I still haven't heard anything. And the receptionist girl at the desk is saying, "Oh, I'm sorry, he's we try to get him to answer his text or whatever, blah blah blah, to look at these messages or whatever." And I'm like, "Okay, yeah, but it's been a week and a half now or whatever, And so she's like scribbling, thing on a sticky note or whatever.
Sorry, I'm messing with this, but look, it won't retract.
Yeah, so I'm like,
I have got to go. I got to go pick Eli up from work.
Oh, yeah.
And get ready for tomorrow. So I'm going to have to take off. But thank you for joining us again for another week. We hope dogs are whining. We hope you're having a great weekend and having a good Father's Day. And we will see you back next week. Same time, same channel, same nonsense. Thanks. Bye.